What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm doing a TV review. This is Grotesquery, which is on FX, but it's also next day on Hulu with audio description, which it needs. Don't try to watch this without it if you're blind and visually impaired like me, because you'd be missing a lot. The whole purpose of this show is to gross you out. This is the goriest show I think I've ever seen on television. The only question that I have is Chucky, which occasionally, and Chucky often has gore that is really over the top, but is also presented in this almost comedic fashion. This is straight up like some really dark shit. This is like, I don't even know. I don't think there's been a cable television series that has gone this far, this hard, this long, with this much content where I'm just like, oh my God. And it hits you right from the beginning too. So there's no like, well, I didn't know. You'll know within the first 10 minutes if you can make it through Grotesquery. Easy. I mean, this is either a turn off or turn on show for sighted and for blind viewers. Like you'll just know. And I will tell you, having seen the first 2 episodes, it's like that the whole time. So nobody in this show dies in any sort of like a normal fashion or clean. Basically, Niecy Nash is an agent who is tasked with a case. And she, at the top of the series, we don't know much about her. She has family, and we do occasionally get to see her family dynamic. And the characters that bounce around, they're not really developed. The first episode didn't develop them really at all. It was kind of, my initial criticism of the show was that the show doesn't do enough to either develop her case or to develop her and her home life very well. I felt like the first episode was, look at the gore we can create. And if you don't want to watch it, then we've given you, it's like, if that's how they're willing to start the series, I don't know what's ahead. I really don't. But I watched 2 episodes and I'm just like, I would not be watching this show if I could see that straight up. I would be like, I'd be out. I'd be like, nope. So depending on your level of gore, I used to like scary movies that were actually like scary because they were well written, not because it was like, look at what we can do with the grossness of the gore and the sickness and the suggestions of things that were eating people. And I don't know, it's so she walks in, she finds the scene, and your first indication, and I didn't know because I don't know, I'm like, well, this is on FX, so, well, apparently that means nothing. I remember that used to mean something, where like they could only go just so far, and then we started going further and further. I think Walking Dead maybe changed that game a little bit. People just started getting really used to seeing different things at 10 p.m. Before she walks in, there's like another like FBI agent that's like vomiting and like couldn't take it, and they're trying to warn her. They're like, listen, I've never seen anything like that before in my life. And I was like, when she goes in there, I'm like, probably, I don't think anybody has. I don't know if this actually has ever happened in real life for an FBI agent. I don't even know what they would see. And they mentioned something about how there was like some guy that came to the house because he heard like a noise, and that's how they found. And I'm like, I would hate to be that neighbor. I would probably kill myself. I like the images of not being able to get that out of my head of the people that I knew and seeing them like that would have been like, but basically I can't even describe it to you. The audio description on this is flawless, by the way, because I was just shocked the whole time. Which is the point of the show, is to shock you. And it worked. First scene, holy shit. I mean, going for broke on what is it that you could possibly do, you know? Uh, in terms of audio description, I was thinking about like, well, it's a lot easier to listen to things than it is to see them, and I was like, God damn, what would this look like? You know, I mean, this sounds terrible to actually see. But I know that there are people who love gore, and they're like, those people they're gonna find this show. The people who are like, Terrifier is my favorite film of all time. This is your show. Grotesquery is the show you've been waiting for. Ryan Murphy has made, I think it's gorier than any American Horror Story he's ever made. I can't think of anything. Chucky is the closest thing I can think of because I have watched every episode of Chucky. And Chucky has had some deaths where I've been like, that's a lot. That's a lot. But I think Grotesquery topped it. I do. So yeah, and then there's a second one towards the end of some more bodies that are found, which is also that one felt like a little bit more like I've seen that kind of stuff before. The first scene is like go for broke. The first scene is just really set you up as like, this is what we're doing. This is what the show's going to be. And then the second episode also has a big reveal scene too of another setup. I still don't think anything tops the first scene. I don't know how they're ever going to top the first. If you can get past that first scene, the rest of them are bad, but that first one is just like, Jesus Christ, man. Just like, what the... yeah, so that's what the show is. So they're investigating the world's nastiest serial killer, obviously the world's most profound serial killer, because at this point, multiple deaths, and then this is only 2 episodes deep. So Niecy Nash needs to get up in this. Like, the FBI needs to make this the priority. So she's also kind of consulting with, the only other interesting thing about this show is that she's consulting with like sister. I want to say Maria, but I think that's wrong. I forgot what her name is, but there's a nun that's like really interested in getting this case solved, and believes that there are some other maybe things that she can offer like on the table. It's really interesting to see like a nun investigating a serial killer case. But in the second episode, where you see sort of like the deaths sort of juxtaposed against religion, you realize sort of maybe why the nun is there. And so I think there could be a deeper meaning as to why I would say the number 2 character here is a nun, you know, and not like her FBI agent partner, who I don't even think she has one. I think it's literally just Niecy Nash. I'm like, where am I missing the FBI? Like, I'm like, these are huge death sequences. Like, this place she should have like a team of people. This should be like one of those shows, you know how like we have like Criminal Minds, and like one person, they get like one person who's a killer, and then they're like, they go to this whole room full of people who are like profilers, and they're like, all right, well, let's go. It's like, where is her team? Like, she should have like a whole team around her full of people who are like giving her feedback. And instead, it feels like it's just her and this nun. And then like occasionally we get some scenes of her at home or like with her family. And that's the show. I'm like, she has no team? Like, I mean, there are other agents, but they never feel like they are... Nobody ever feels like they're a series regular, I should say. She doesn't feel like she has a partner that offers anything to the show except for this nun. So it just feels like it's Niecy Nash's show, and like, there's a nun, and she has some family. I think Courtney B. Vance is one of them, by the way, in terms of like, are there any other names in the show? Yeah, there are some names. So, I don't know if I'll make it. We'll see. I'll keep watching. I think this is more Ryan Murphy's thing than the last 2 shows I just watched. This dude is everywhere right now. And as of this recording, even though I haven't put it out yet, I will say I've also seen Dr. Odyssey. So of the four things Ryan Murphy has currently, this is the most Ryan Murphy thing that I've seen that really feels like it is a coherent story that I'm like, well, this, if I had to elevate it, I don't like what he's doing with American Sports Story. I didn't really care for Monsters. Dr. Odyssey is really boring, and I'm a huge Joshua Jackson fan. So I was bored to death by Dr. Odyssey. I was like, if this wasn't produced by Ryan Murphy and didn't have the stars that it has, there's no way ABC would pick this up. Nobody watched this and was like, wow, this is a fun show. So yeah, I think this is totally on brand. If you're sitting here going, oh man, usually we have American Horror Story, you do have it. It's just under a different name. This is far worse than anything I've ever seen on American Horror Story. So, enjoy. Audio description, I don't know who's doing it, but God love you. God love you. I would give you a prize. Probably the sad thing about those audio description awards is that I can only vote for like one thing for television, so I can't promise you my vote, but I'm going to promise you I'm going to think about voting for Grotesquery because I know what you're having to describe, and God love you for doing it, you know, because this show wouldn't work otherwise. If you weren't willing to dive full in here, like head first into, then the show doesn't work. So, but as far as I can tell, you are absolutely getting all up in it. And, so, this is a show, guys. This is a show. What grade do I give it? God, I don't know. I always say grade things sort of based on what their scale is and try not to compare things to what is Grotesquery trying to do? And is it doing it successfully? So, and against maybe other things that are really similar to Grotesquery. So do I think this is one of the greatest shows of the year? No. But when I think about like horror television shows, Grotesquery has already made an impact for me, and I won't be able to think about many other things following Grotesque. And I've only seen 2 of the episodes. I don't even know what's ahead of me on this show. So I think Niecy Nash delivers a good performance. Not her best work, but she's also not being given. That's not really the focus of the show here seems to be, what can we possibly throw at you to get you to turn the television off? But so I would love to see character development. That's kind of my biggest hang up here, is that I need more. I'd love for her to have, like, that's the other thing too, is that we have all of these fucking procedurals, right? And like, it's always a team. It's a team full of people. It's like one dude commits one crime, and then we cut to our team in FBI or NCIS or Criminal Minds, and it's a team of like 5 to 7 people, you know, and they're like, all right, we're working on it. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. And here, this is some really heavy shit, and lots of people have died in the first 2 episodes. And it feels like Niecy Nash is alone. Like, she has a team, but she doesn't really use them. Like, she has like people who analyze crime scenes, but she doesn't really communicate. They don't have meetings. She doesn't have, I feel like in a weird way, I shouldn't know anything about her family, but I should know who her team is. This should be Ryan Murphy's like R-rated version of Criminal Minds. Like, even he should have watched an episode of Criminal Minds and been like, well, this is really tame. I bet I could do better than this. Like, that's what this should be. So I do structurally have some problems with it that have nothing to do with the high level of gore that's in the show. So, but I'm interested to know how the nun really factors in. And I don't think that's going to be fully answered until later on in the show. But I'm interested to see what Ryan Murphy does with that. So we'll see. I'm leaning positive on this. I'm going to go Grotesquery B+. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.